I would like to do is I would like to show you the beginning step of how to create a cup using the pinch pot method. This demonstration is for my Ceramics 2 students who will be making pinch pot cups. We will be learning how to create a pleasing handle. We will be learning how to do a foot ring and how to add a texture that will enhance your glazes. We are going to be using our tan stoneware. It is our standard 153 stoneware that we'll be using. It will, of course, fire to this light brown color. And we will be dip glazing them in my stoneware glazes that I have. So, let me set these aside and let's get started. What we're going to do today is we're going to be taking stoneware clay about the size of an orange, or about 1.5 pounds to begin with, and we're going to wedge it up. Your clay should be nice and plastic. The wedging is going to mix the clay together nicely so you have a nice uniform consistency. You shouldn't have like wet spots or dry spots. It should all be nice and uniform. Now, once it is wedged, you're going to take it and you're going to create a ball. That ball is going to be the foundation for your pinch form. There we go. If you happen to have a defect like a large wrinkle or something, you could always put your thumb in where that large wrinkle is. Mine looks pretty good though. This is as large as I would possibly want to go. This might be too large for you if you have smaller hands, because you have to be able to stick your thumb in and to be able to pinch around. And if you have hands that are much smaller than mine, you won't be able to. So what I'm going to initially do is I'm going to stick my thumb right into the middle, and you reach your fingers around and you pinch directly opposite of your thumb. Now the whole idea on this is that I'm pinching the very bottom of the cup first. Note that I'm holding it in my hands up off the table. I don't want to do this while it's sitting on the table, or else it's going to flatten out. We want to create a cup form, so I am pulling the fingers upward as I rotate the clay, and I'm slowly thinning the wall out. It should be an even thickness. The floor and the walls will become about 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch thick. You want it to be relatively even. It can always be thinned later. It's just much harder to add on thickness if you get it too thin. Now, as you begin to bring your hands up the wall, if it starts to get a little wide on you, just take your hands gently, compress it in slightly to bring in the diameter of the opening, and then you can continue. You want to try to keep that in control. You don't want it to get too wide and then have to bring it in. It's much easier to do it in small increments, to bring it in slowly. So, by holding it in my hand like this, I can keep the form taller and thinner, and note that the bottom is still rather rounded. I will eventually flatten the bottom, but I want to get the cup sides pretty much done before I do that. So it's a pretty quick process to form this into a pinch cup. You want to watch your edges. When you bring your fingers all the way up to the edge, do not pinch the edge thin. You need to leave the edge the same thickness as the rest of the walls. In fact, you might even want to take your finger over the edge and give a little compression on that. It will definitely add a little stability if you have any surface cracking. Now, you want to check with your fingers. Feel if you feel any lumps, any thick spots that you need to thin. When it looks relatively even, then at that point is going to be the first time that I'm going to tap to create a bottom. Now, you will notice that these cup forms are considerably smaller. You have to remember that stoneware is going to shrink a lot. This stoneware, it's going to shrink somewhere between 14 and 17%. So I do make it a little bit bigger than I will need it to be eventually. I am going to account for that. Okay, so now I have, excuse me. Okay, so now I have the form. It looks pretty good. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and rib the outside and the inside. When you look at it, you want to make sure that the bottom is looking centered among the rim. You don't want it to be off center. And you want it to look relatively even in height. So it doesn't really matter if you begin with the inside or the outside, but I'm going to use a yellow rib, and I'm going to be ribbing the smoothness on the inside and the outside. I'm going to make sure that I have a hand on the opposite side of the wall from the rib. Now, as you rib, you want to clean the clay off the rib because it will accumulate on the edge of the rib and it will pose some problems for you if you don't clean it off. The purpose of ribbing is it is going to try to remove some of the denting, so it's just going to be a lot smoother. The more you clean it in the early stages, the less cleaning you have in the later stages. So it definitely makes it easier. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rib and I'm going to go around the outside. And again, make sure that that bottom looks round and positioned in the middle. Okay, and check to see, has it gotten a little bit fatter and lower? Do you need to bring it in a little bit more? And oops, lastly, I'll just do a little bit more of that. And that looks pretty good for the first day, I think. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow this to get leather hard. So for my students, I would have you turn it upside down on a wear board. You're going to take a needle tool or something and write your initials in the bottom. You will put your bell on the bottom and you will leave it uncovered for one night only. When these sit uncovered for one night, then they should get leather hard. When they are leather hard, that's going to be when we do the major cleaning. As long as we've done some of the essential things of making sure it looks even in thickness, we've ribbed it on the outside, then we can let it get leather hard. So that's it for day one on making pinch pot cups.